All right, let's go. Welcome to Joe Blow, where we have real, unfiltered, raw conversations with ordinary Joe Blows doing amazing stories. Now, for the next 10 weeks, I have two amazing athletes chasing the Hyrox world dream. I have Katie Brock, actually, you're not a former CrossFitter, are you?
Nah,
You're
still
still
doing it.
hanging in there.
Still
You-
trying to be one.
You and Jimmy will bring you across the Hyrox. Katie Brock, former CrossFit champion,
We can say
amazing
that.
CrossFit athlete.
I like that. Yep.
And we have Jonathan Paulson, ex-elite triathlete, amazing runner, so we're told, and family man, business owner, but not an Ironman. Unlike myself, I've done 9 of them. Before we start, I thought we'd play a little game. You guys keen? I need to sort of get the mood going here. Have you heard about high-low buffalo?
Never.
Oh, good. This is going to be great. So we're going to do high-low buffalo. Now, the idea is, I'll start just to give you an idea so you can think. High is something that's amazing in your life right now. It's a high in your life. Low is a low point in your life right now. What's really low? And buffalo is something unusual, odd, quirky that people don't know about you. So I'm going to give you some time. I'll start. A high in my life at the moment. Look at Katie thinking. She's thinking about those 8 inches earlier. So you never said if 7 was okay. So a high in my life is this podcast. It's just a high. It's exciting and I'm loving it, even though I'm out of my comfort zone. A low, I had time to think about this. A low for me would be post Hyrox, and because I'm so driven by goals, I don't feel like I've got one at the moment. So I've felt really flat and low, and I feel like, why should I even train? Something quirky and odd. I've got a heap of this stuff. But one thing is I gave myself a challenge when I was in London to travel from London to one of the Greek islands on 50 pounds. And so we used to jump on and off trains, and we jumped on this train, me and this guy, Dean Buckmaster. I remember that. We were in a carriage, and a guy pulled a gun out in the carriage, and we both looked at each other thinking, oh my God, this is it. And he had the gun, he took off out of the carriage, ran down, and all of a sudden these 2 police came running down after him. That was my quirky bit. Wow. Now it's up to you guys. Katie?
I'm so happy that you're going first on this.
You get an extra couple minutes to think. My high at the moment would definitely be my training, my Hyrox specific training. So all the running and everything in the community that I'm around with it, I'm just getting so much excitement and enjoyment out of it, more so than training I've done previously. So it's really exciting. I'm really enjoying it and loving that. My low at the moment would be probably the direction I'm going with my career, because I'm putting so much time and effort into my training and that side of my life. I just haven't had the focus and the time to really put into my career and where that's going. And so I'm just finding that I'm not getting as much enjoyment and satisfaction out of that I have had previously. So it's sort of my low at the moment. And my quirky thing that probably not many people know is I absolutely despise the cold. I will hop in a car, and rather than having the air conditioning on 18 degrees, I'll put it to 26 degrees and put the seat warmer on when we're living in Queensland and it's 30 degrees outside. I just like to be nice, warm and cozy. So, yeah.
Oh.
That's
That was
me.
so good. My high is pretty easy at the moment. I've got a beautiful 11-month-old daughter. So my high is definitely family. My first experience with Sophia, she's now 6. I really struggled in that first year, and I've been pretty kind of open about that struggle. But I fucking love it this time. Like, it's not without its challenges, and especially for my wife, like, she's at the brunt of it, but I really love it, and I get it why people just have multiples. Miller's been great. She's like kind of this radiant ball of energy when you walk through the door. She kind of lights up the room, so that's a definite high. My low, yes, it would be around business, and it's not the business itself. It's probably how I deal with the business. It's obviously like anyone that runs a business or is like at an exec level, it can get pretty stressful at times. But mine's probably more about the brain fog that I've been probably going through. It's getting better, but I'm someone that's always had like a great amount of like focus and being able to like almost compartmentalize stuff. Walk through the door and just being able to like just ball out for hours. Whereas, I'm finding that my focus has definitely dropped a little bit. And I don't know whether that's a combination of just all the other shit that's happening going on in life, and it's just natural, but definitely something that I've found is a bit different than what I've previously had. And my quirkiness, I'm just a quirky guy in general, so I don't know what's particularly quirky about me more than anything else. I'm not even sure if this is quirky, but like I'm someone that would be quite comfortable just not talking for a day. I'm loving this. So yeah, that's my quirkiness. But apart from that, I'm not out there on a quirkiness scale, I guess. Anyway, okay.
All right. Let's get back to the Hyrox journey for both of you. And I thought I'm going to do like a 10-week series. Every week I'll have sort of 3 questions and maybe a bonus question so I can get you to cry. No, we're going to have like a 10-week. Every week will be something different, but we're not really looking at, I don't care about your training because you guys post heaps about that and it's boring. This is more to do with...
I thought it was good.
I don't like... No, everyone does the training program. Yeah. No, they're both really good, but I thought the feature of this that we're trying to do on Joe Blow is more for trying to find your mindset, how you're getting through that side of it. And some of it might be a bit personal. And if you don't want to answer it, Katie, we don't have to. No, this week's going to be pretty easy and then it'll get harder and harder. But it's sort of getting a different angle that people can see rather than, I'm doing 400 ball balls. Look at me. Look at my ass. All right. So the first question we have is, I'll start with Katie. So why the switch from CrossFit to Hyrox? Were you burnt out with CrossFit? Were you bored? Were you looking for a new challenge, or was it something else?
There was probably a combination of things that came into play. I get bored really easy and I like to change my sports. Well, I've just always changed my sports quite often. B, I wasn't progressing and moving through CrossFit very fast, and to make it as a professional or make it to the next level of CrossFit, I was going to have to sacrifice so much more time. I was going to have to train more hours, do more recovery, and I enjoy my career working as an accountant at Bopple, and so I enjoy that so much that I didn't want to sacrifice that to pursue CrossFit to any more level. And then also, I enjoy running, and I haven't been able to do that for the last 5-6 years while I've been pursuing CrossFit. And so I wanted to do a sport that I could do something that I'd enjoy training and doing, which was running. So it was kind of a natural progression that in my off season last year, we'd sort of decided, me and Jimmy, who I train with, had decided to step away from CrossFit. And then it was just sort of a natural progression. I started running more. I gave a Hyrox comp a go. I did Sydney. And then from Sydney, I didn't mean to, but I ended up qualifying for Worlds, and then it sort of just kind of a bit like you.
Thank you.
3 times champion.
Thank you.
And from there, it's just kind of snowballed, and I've just really dived into the training, and yeah, so.
Johnny, it's been a while since you were an elite triathlete, and then I guess you became an elite runner. Why for you the Hyrox sort of all of a sudden? I know you didn't make your first one because you had a sore tummy, but you had an amazing second race. And I mean, why Hyrox for you? Was it a new challenge, boredom, removing all your self-doubt?
Ironically, after I missed my first one, I was probably at race weight for running, back down to race weight, which would have been a positive. My journey into Hyrox, it just started through injury from running. So back 2 years ago now, I was deep on this mission to break 30 minutes for 10K, as well as doing a marathon off the back of it. And it was the best running season I'd had to date, across all distances from 5K to 10K. And then finally ran 29:43 in Launceston in 2023. Had the race of my life and felt like I probably could go quicker, and then had the marathon, Gold Coast Marathon, a month after that, and got to through that next month, I felt like, just a few niggles are starting to pop up, a bit of groin pain, and then I got to the Gold Coast Marathon and I got to 25K and I couldn't walk, and I had to pull out. So I managed to get back to Main Beach somehow, and I had to pull out. And basically, I couldn't run for 6 months. I had stress fractures in my pelvis. I had chronic. I've even forgotten now. But there was just multiple issues. Once you deload everything, it just uncovered a whole bunch of shit. So that's when I started gym, and I've never done gym ever. As it might have been a surprise to people. And I really started to enjoy it. It obviously gave me something to do. For someone, that exercise was obviously such an important part of my life. I was running 130K a week, and that was obviously, double sessions a day. And it just gave me a sense of purpose each morning. I had no idea about Hyrox, never heard about it until someone, showed me a website kind of back in mid 2024 last year. Still had no interest in it because I just thought it was CrossFit. Sorry, Katie.
It's okay.
And then we did this event, Tenerife 10, which involved a bunch of ergs and that sort of stuff, and with a mate of mine, and we came second, and that's kind of how it all started. And I met you three pricks, and no, not Katie. Katie's lovely, but I'm going to include Angus in on this. So then just started to develop a really nice gym community, and then one thing led to another. So there was absolutely no kind of purpose or deliberateness with Hyrox at all. And then did Melbourne. Somehow entered for Melbourne and did it and loved it. It's kind of very similar to my personality. It kind of, there's a bit of obsession to it, which works perfectly. And but I absolutely still have an intention to go back to running and hopefully one day run a good marathon, which I hope that this will definitely help.
All right. Question number 2. What surprised you the most about Hyrox racing? The race. What surprised you the most mentally, physically?
Mentally, I think I've probably found the biggest surprise, and it's through both the race and through my training, and it's the mental side of things that comes with running, because I've never done a huge amount of running. Like, I've done it in my sports, I played rugby and everything like that, but I'd never put heaps of time into running and what sort of the mental game you have to play when you are running. In CrossFit and a lot of my other sports, especially CrossFit, you maybe have 50 reps of pull-ups to do, and you get to stop every couple of minutes, or every 20 reps you've got to stop and take a break, and so you kind of get to reset your mind. In a Hyrox race and in my running training, you don't stop. You have to keep running. You have the ability to keep running, and so you are constantly having to have this mental battle on convincing yourself and willing yourself, or however that conversation goes, to be able to keep going. And at the start, when I first started Hyrox and running and everything, I talked really negatively to myself, which I'd always found really beneficial in training, telling myself I could do better and I could be better and pushing myself harder. Whereas in running and in Hyrox races, I found I actually have to talk to myself really positively and be like, you can do this, you've got this. And I found that really surprising on how I've had to change my mindset on that to be able to get through races. And the more positive that I talk to myself in the races, and the more happy and enjoyment I get, the better I go and the better that I run and I can hold those paces. And I found that really interesting. And it's been difficult to train that mindset and make that shift and sort of identify it. But it's also a really cool one because I think that's helped me outside of Hyrox too, because I'm just a happier person because I'm believing in myself.
That's such a good answer. And just off the back of what Katie's saying, it's such an endurance sport. And what's surprising about it for me is that aspect. Like it's there's a lot of strength dominated work in there, but ultimately it's an endurance race, right? And that mindset that Katie talks about, is almost like the ninth station, potentially the most important station. And that's the same for all endurance sports. It's the battle of the mind, right? Of who can smile when they're hurting the most, or who can not let that pain overcome them. Would definitely be a surprise to me. I mean, at far less more elegant than what Katie was talking about. I was just surprised about how hard it was. I was shelled after that first one. And like, it might sound obvious that it's a hard sport, but like coming from a person that, done endurance sports my whole life, I was wrecked by about the third station, and it was just a sufferfest just to get by. And like, obviously I finished and, was relatively happy, I guess, but, I just felt like I got dominated by the event. So there's probably like a subset to that then, that it's like I was surprised by how technical it is. Now, it might not be for someone like Katie who's got far more experience in a lot of the stations and the strength work, but a lot of the sled pulls and even just not the body weight stuff, but stuff like lunges and burpees, like they're quite technical exercises that not just to do them, but to do them efficiently. That's definitely something I didn't give the respect that it deserves.
Third and final question. There may be a bonus round. You sort of touched on it there, and I'll get your answer again, but do you guys feel like beginners again in this sport, or do you feel like you can use some of your past experience to help you with Hyrox, or do you just feel like a beginner and it's all new and, I'm starting from scratch, or are you using some of your past experience to sort of help you along?
I think our answers are probably going to be complete opposite of where we feel like not beginners. For me, I feel a complete beginner in running and how to pace that and how to feel the paces and everything like that. And from that side of things, I feel, yes, 100% complete beginner. When it comes to the stations, it's just my bread and butter. It's what I've trained for the last 6-7 years, and I still feel almost, even in Hyrox as a whole new sport, although I'm a beginner in the sport, I feel like I'm a master almost in the stations. Not a master, but I feel experienced in those stations, and that I can control myself and I know how to pace them and how to work through those so well and easily that it's not a huge focus. Whereas running, I'm a complete beginner and don't know how to do that, which is awesome and it's exciting. And I think that's probably what makes me excited about the sport and doing it, because I'm learning so much, and every day I'm learning how fast I can run, which is exciting too, finding that ability. So,
Yeah, I would agree to that sentiment. But also, I think what's slowly starting to happen in Hyrox is that there is definitely a Hyrox athlete developing, and I think you'll see that happen over the next 2, 3, 4 years, like how popular this sport is becoming. At the moment, it's kind of, you got a cross between maybe some CrossFitters, you got some Ironman triathletes, and then maybe, a few people in between. You'll definitely start to see those people come through, like the 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, that yes, they've got a background in these sports, but they start to, their training regime is definitely just focused on Hyrox rather than just this elite runner that's now doing a little bit of strength training, or this CrossFitter that's now doing a little bit more running. And I think then more sports science is going to get behind it as more money gets involved in the sport. So yeah, boss, to answer your question, yes, I feel like it's kind of this new beginning. It's like it's all new to me. I do get the sense it's very similar to like an Ironman triathlon, definitely running under fatigue, running with dead legs, it's not necessarily a sport of who is the fastest runner. I think that is the greatest misconception. You can be a great runner, but still suck at the sport of Hyrox, right? If you're not efficient through the stations. So yeah, I mean, it's going to get quite a scientific sport, I think, in the next year as these times start to come down and people start to try to really eke out the next 1%.
And I think on the other side of that is that there's also a huge like pacing side of things with it. Like you could be an elite runner, but if you don't pace it and if you don't plan the workout or the race that's going to suit you, then you can blow up after your sled push. If you go out too hard and you think you're awesome runner and you hit those first 2 runs at a 3:30 or 4-minute pace or whatever's too fast for you, hit your sled push, you're done. You're dead for the rest of the race.
And that's a great thing about this sport as well. It's so strategic. Like I've got no experience with CrossFit, so I'm sure CrossFit is also, there's a lot of strategy that goes into that. But you say if you look at someone like a James Kelly, who's probably one of the best in the world at Hyrox for men. His back half of a Hyrox is so strong, and he just makes up, like he could be 4th, 5th, 6th, but he'll always come through like on burpee broad jumps and just dominate. And there's so much time to be made up. But like every other like kind of endurance race, you can get lost in that kind of groundswell at the start of ego, and blow up your race right at the start before you know it.
This one's just about you guys. I want to know. So we have a battery, like on your phone battery, and it's 100% and it's 0. In terms of your life right now, and 100% is 100% happy with life. Where are you? 0, depressed, about to jump off the bridge. Don't encourage that.
Are you going to go grab me off the bridge?
100% is my life is amazing. And I want to sort of ask this during the flow. My life is amazing. Couldn't get any better. It's great. Where are you?
I reckon I'd put myself at the top end. I wouldn't say 100% because there are things in my life that I'd change and that would make it a lot better or make it better. But I reckon I'd put myself at 80%. As I said at the start, I'm loving my training and I've never had this much enjoyment out of my training before. And as much as my career is not making me super excited at the moment, I'm still in a really good place. Like I enjoy my job. I have a job that allows me to train like I do, which is really awesome. And yeah, so I reckon I'd be at 80%. I've got great friends, a great community around me, which, yeah.
So I was going to leave you there, but I'm not because I've got time. So we're at 80%. What's the 20% that's missing? Is it love, romance?
Yeah, 100%. It honestly is. And it's the aspect of my life that I continue probably to put to the side and miss because I put so much time into my training and my work and everything like that. And I think this last week's been a testament to that, is because my training volumes ramped back up, work's been busy, and that I just don't have time to put into that side of my life. And so I sacrifice that. And so it is sort of that missing piece, and it's trying to find the time to try and balance that and try to bring that into my life. Hopefully, I don't know if it's going to be possible in the next 10 weeks because I'm going to be so busy with training, but you never know. And I think that's probably a big missing piece. And then, I mean, also family. My family's in New Zealand, so I'm here by myself. So that's always going to be something that pulls me. Yeah. Thank you. I mean, not by myself. I've got you. You're going to start crying. So yeah, those are probably the two things, but now on the head there.
Nice. I like that. Johnny?
I would say 60% happy, 40%, I wouldn't say depressed, but, probably a bit dull. And I would say, of that 40%, 35 is purely of my own making. I'm wearing a shirt that is based on Black Sheep's Mind Health Initiative. So obviously this is an area that I'm very passionate about and been doing a lot of work in for the last 8 years. And when I say a lot of it, that 35% is in my own head. It's really me learning to be more appreciative of the stuff that is going right in my life, or of that, whether it's 60%, 70%, whatever that number is. Like on face value, I've got a lot to be thankful for. A beautiful family, beautiful kids, beautiful wife, you know, a business, you know, a sport or a hobby that, you know, I'm quite passionate about, you know, a training group that is great. But yeah, on pure, you know, just honesty, I would say that there is, you know, a part of me every day that really struggles. And so, you know, what is that struggle? You know, whether it's sometimes low mood or anxiety, or, you know, the brain fog that I talk about, the you know, particularly anxiety around business and that sort of stuff. You know, it does wear you down, and but I think I'm becoming better at it. So where I say 60%, perhaps even last year it may have been 50%, just because, you know, or even 40%, just because there's been times definitely over the last 3, 4, 5 years where it does, you know, almost become all consuming. So, you know, it's definitely a journey that I'm on with this. It's a journey that so many people are on with it. So yeah.
You sort of answered something I was going to ask you. So what were the numbers a year ago, do you think?
Well, I've never been asked that question, like in terms of percentage, and I think it's quite nice because it gives you kind of, like everything, like, you know, rate of perceived exertion, it's all subjective, right? But I think it's quite nice. I would definitely say a year ago, 2 years ago, particularly for an e-commerce based business trying to navigate through fucking COVID and off the back of COVID in the cycling industry, it's been a roller coaster for sure. Managing a business that's scaling 3, 4, 5x, and then the arse falling out of the industry by oversupply, and then trying to restructure businesses and you know, cash flow yourself out of it. You know, that I think at the best of times is just, it takes a lot of psychological turmoil. So yeah, I would say, you know, whether it's 40%, 30%, I don't know, it would have been a lot lower than it is now, but it's you know, you speak to those closest to me, it's definitely something I go through on a daily basis. And it's those people that are closest to you that, you know, really cop the brunt of it.
So how does Johnny get it to 80% in 12 months' time?
Yeah, I think it's, you know, the beautiful part at the moment is family and is kids, and not, like, Kelly's obviously a vital part of this, but, you know, for anyone that has kids knows, like, the absolute profound effect that they have on your life, both good and bad. But, you know, the pain that I was feeling with the first one, it was really like, that was back in 2018 where, you know, the Black Sheep was a business that was scaling, you know, moderately at the time, but also had quite a lot of stress. And then all of a sudden you've got this kid in your life and it's like, fuck, I've got to somehow, like, give this kid attention as well as my wife, whilst also, like, maintain the business. Whereas now I've, you know, unfortunately, to use a really bad word, but I think I've got a lot more perspective of, like, what is important in my life. And ultimately what is important to my life is family, is kids. So when I walk in the door each day, and I don't do this perfectly, but, like, I see the positives of seeing this little 11-month-old child just, like, going, like, lighting up, and it just, like, it melts you. So not to place too high importance on that, because obviously you've also got to focus on yourself, and that little 11-month-old kid could also just be shouting at you, you know, 10 minutes later. But just seeing those moments and seeing the positives in those moments. And I think in other areas, seeing the positives in different moments more than just, you know, whether it's training, you have a shit session and just beating yourself up over your head about it. Like, you know what, like, if you're tired and you have a shit session, it's probably because you've been pretty consistent at your training that week and there's a reason for it. So yeah, just seeing positives in life a little bit more.
Thank you, Johnny. No more Katie. Thank you, Katie. That was so interesting. I really enjoyed that. The fact that you guys could open up and express things, and I'm looking forward to the next 9 more weeks of rattling your cages and finding out what makes you guys tick. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Any final words?
Legendary season, they gon' feel me breathing. I've been working heavy, you too busy sleeping, blood, sweat, tears. I don't need a reason.